Why steering wheel gets locked up while parked, driving, and even when turning left or right. If you are watching this video, I am sure you may have had or still experiencing one of those what the heck moments when your vehicle's steering wheel gets locked up while driving. And sometimes it could be a steering wheel locks up when turning left or right. Or in another situation, maybe your car steering wheel locked up while parked. These whole scenarios can be likened to when your computer crashes without any warning and be very annoying and confusing, especially if you haven't experienced it before or know what caused it and what to do to resolve it, to prevent potential problems from it. In this video, we've got your back as we are going to cover the reasons steering wheel get locked up while driving and parked, and the causes of vehicles' steering wheels get locked up while turning left or right. We are not just looking at the reason the steering wheel is locked up in various instances. We will also look at what to do if your steering wheel locks while driving or when parked. We'll be your guide, helping you to stay calm and handle it like a pro. And finally, we look at a few FAQ questions on this topic. Why does the car steering wheel lock up while parked? Well, the thing is, most modern cars with turnkey ignitions have an ignition lock and will jump into action when you turn the wheel after pulling the key out of the ignition. This helps keep your car steering wheel bolted and from turning without a key to deter car thieves, so that even when someone manages to start your car engine, they won't be able to drive it without a functional steering wheel. So then, why does the steering wheel lock when the car is off? Well, your steering wheel can get locked up while parked if you accidentally activate or set off the steering wheel lock and you have no clue about how this feature works. If this happens, it is simple to unlock or switch off this lock, and to do so, you just need to turn the key in the ignition while trying to move the steering wheel side to side multiple times at the same time. What to do when the steering wheel is locked up while parked and the key won't turn? Please note that most times, the lock can prevent your keys from turning, but giving your car steering wheel a little wiggle side to side will resolve it, enabling you to turn the key and disengage the lock cylinder. So if you find that the steering wheel is locked up while parked and the key won't turn, now you know why that is so and what to do. Preventing steering wheel from locking up while parked. You need to avoid using the steering wheel for support when you hop in or out of the car, otherwise, you might accidentally trigger the steering lock. 1. Don't turn the steering wheel after parking. First off, once you've pulled into your parking spot and taken the key out, don't fiddle with the steering wheel. Touching and turning the steering wheel at this point can set off the steering wheel lock of most vehicles. 2. Use the steering wheel properly. When you're hopping in or getting out of your car, don't use the steering wheel for support. If you pull or push on the steering too much, you could accidentally set off or activate the steering lock. 3. Park in neutral. When you are parking in a safe environment, consider leaving your car in neutral when you park, instead of switching to park. Just be sure to use your parking brake if you do this. Keeping it in neutral can help prevent that steering wheel lock from jumping into action. 4. Practice mindful key removal. And finally, be gentle with your key when you are turning off your car. Yanking it out or twisting it can accidentally trigger the steering lock. So take it easy and always try to pull out your car keys as straight as possible. What are the reasons why the steering wheel locks up while driving or while turning left or right? Here are 4 possible causes why the steering wheel became locked while driving and turning. Damaged bearings. Your steering column relies on bearings to operate smoothly, and when these become worn out or damaged, they can make turning difficult or lock completely up. Faulty steering rack. If the steering rack, which connects the steering wheel to its wheels, becomes worn or lacks proper lubrication, it could result in locking up and result in locking of your wheels. Under-lubricated steering wheel system. Like any mechanical system, your car's steering requires sufficient lubrication in order to work or function smoothly. Without enough lubrication present, increased friction could arise in its mechanism, making the wheel harder to turn or even locking it altogether. Collapsed steering column. Although rare, steering columns can collapse under heavy impact from collisions or high-force impacts like bomb blasts. When this happens while driving, the steering wheel could lock immediately. Similar to running into an obstacle, such as a wall, Once affected by such forces, all movement stops immediately. What to do if your steering wheel locks while driving? Slowly decrease your speed. Slow down your speed without hitting the brakes too hard. Your main goal here is to avoid jerky motions that could confuse other drivers or lose control of your car. Turn on hazard lights. You have to give other drivers a heads up by immediately switching on those hazard lights. This is you telling the drivers behind you that you're experiencing difficulties with your car, so they know to keep their distance away from you. Try to move to a safe place. Now try steering your car toward the roadside or any safe place if you can. If the steering wheel refuses to budge, gradually let your car come to a standstill and then put on the parking brake. Get help. Now that you're safely out of the driving lanes, it's time to call the cavalry. I mean a professional towing service, you know. Make sure you get your car to a trusty mechanic for a thorough checkup. They can figure out what caused your steering wheel to lock up and sort out the issue to get your car safely back on the road. Common reasons of steering wheel lockup in generally: number 1. Ignition switch issue. The ignition switch is a vital element in starting and running your car, and so if it has issues, it could cause a car steering wheel locked up while driving, and even when turning left or right. The ignition system is designed to interact directly with the steering column of your car, which contains an interlock to prevent turning the steering without the key in the ignition. So when the ignition system wears out or tears, it can malfunctions, resulting in an inability to release the steering column locks when the car starts, leading to locked steering wheels when driving or turning. Tips to fix this. To resolve this problem, you can take your car to an auto shop to have your ignition switch checked by a mechanic. And you have the experience, you can dragonize the problem by yourself. So when notice that the ignition switch is faulty, then the next step will be a replacement of your car ignition switch system to rectify the issue. Number 2. Steering column lock. The steering column lock is an inbuilt security feature in your vehicle that is intended to deter or prevent theft from stealing your car. This anti-theft mechanism, when functioning properly, locks the steering wheel in place when the key is removed from the ignition to prevent easy control of your car by thieves. However, sometimes this feature can malfunction, and as a result, may engage the lock inadvertently while your car is in motion. And other times it may fail to disengage the lock even with the key inserted, causing the steering wheel to lock up. Number 3. Power steering system failures. A power steering system helps drivers reduce the level or amount of effort needed to steer a car, so if there are any issues with the system operation, this could potentially cause your car steering wheel to lock up while driving. For instance, leakage of hydraulic pressure from power steering fluid lines means there won't be enough hydraulic assistance, while worn-out power steering pumps or broken serpentine belts could also cause it to fail and lead to increased steering effort or possible lockup of the steering wheel. Number 4. Worn-out key or cylinder. Over time, car keys and ignition cylinders wear down over time, with keys' ridges becoming worn away, making it more difficult for them to engage the tumblers within an ignition cylinder. Similarly, tumblers in an ignition cylinder wear down. Eventually, these worn parts may fail, disengaging steering column locks altogether and lock steering wheels, resulting in steering column lockout. Number 5. Accumulation of dirt and debris. Over time, dust or other forms of debris may accumulate within an ignition cylinder and interfere with its tumbler alignment, preventing you from turning the ignition key and disengaging steering column locks, eventually leading to its lockup, resulting in steering wheel lockup. Number 6. Extreme temperature conditions. Under extremely fluctuating temperature conditions, mechanical parts in a vehicle, such as its ignition system and steering column lock, may expand or contract at different rates and cause havoc with their alignment or operations, potentially leading to steering wheel lockups in certain regions with wide temperature swings. Although rarer, such incidents have occurred more often. Number 7. Faulty ECU or BCM. An engine control unit, ECU, and body control module, BCM, control a wide array of electronic functions in a car, from ignition system management to power steering functions. Though such cases are rare, when either of them malfunctions or is faulty, this could lock up your steering wheel. They highlight how essential maintenance of electrical systems in vehicles should be undertaken regularly. Number 8. Aftermarket ignition system. Aftermarket ignition systems can create problems if they're not integrated properly with existing car systems. This may result in unexpected malfunctions like steering wheel lockup. A common source of conflict here lies at the interface between the aftermarket ignition system and steering column lock. Improper installation could prevent disengaging of such locks from the aftermarket ignition system, leading to locked steering wheels. The most common reason for steering wheel locks up when turning left or right. At its best, turning the steering wheel should be an effortless experience. However, in certain instances, the wheel may lock up and may not allow you to turn the wheel left or right while driving. And in this case, power steering failure is usually the cause, but there are more causes, however, and are the most likely reasons why the steering wheel locks up when turning left or right. The issue with the power steering pump. The power steering pump facilitates the smooth turning of your steering wheel. However, should it malfunction or fail due to insufficient hydraulic pressure from its pump operating on its hydraulic pressure source, that is faulty pump, your wheel could lock up when turning left or right. Low power steering fluid levels. If the power steering fluid levels drop below their recommended levels, your steering wheel could lock while turning. Hydraulic pressure in your power steering system relies heavily on this fluid, without which its pumps wouldn't function efficiently and do their jobs as intended. Faulty steering rack. If the steering rack develops faults or fails, this could also cause steering issues, with possible locking of the wheel when turning. Damaged serpentine belt. Your serpentine belt, otherwise known as the drive belt, connects several components in your vehicle together, including the power steering pump. If it becomes damaged or worn out, steering wheels could lock when turning left or right, and could even lead to complete wheel lockup when turning the steering wheel left or right. Whenever your steering wheel becomes locked when turning, it's best to contact an automotive professional immediately for inspection and advice on repairs that could ensure road safety for you and other drivers. They can identify what may be causing it and suggest appropriate solutions in order to keep everyone safe on the roads. Why is my steering wheel locked and car won't start? The issue you're facing is likely due to your car's ignition lock being engaged. This feature locks the steering wheel when the key isn't in the ignition. Try gently wiggling the steering wheel while turning the key in the ignition. If this doesn't work, there might be a problem with your ignition switch or key, and it's best to get a professional mechanic to check it out. Why car brakes and steering wheel locked up while driving? When your brakes and steering wheel suddenly locks while driving, this could indicate serious brake system problems such as malfunctioning ABS or power steering failure, or an inoperative brake booster. Let's break down what might be going on quickly. Something's wrong with the brakes. Your brake system could have a leak or air in the brake lines, causing those brakes to clamp down hard. That anti-lock braking system is acting up. Normally, the ABS keeps the wheels from locking up when you hit the brakes. But if it's not working right, your wheels could lock up, taking your steering with them. Power steering problems. If the power steering fails, maybe because of a leak, a bad pump, or a belt issue, turning the wheel can feel nearly impossible. A failed brake booster. This helps you apply the brakes, and if it fails, it might cause both the brakes and steering to lock up. Conclusion. So far, we've covered various scenarios you might face on the road that shed light into why steering wheels lock up, from understanding why your steering wheel locked up while driving, to uncovering why car steering wheels often lock while parking, or turned off, to providing insight into various situations to why and what can happen when your steering wheel does lock while driving as well. Tips for preventing steering wheel from locking up while parked, and also addresses the question, what to do if my steering wheel locks while driving? I just hope this video has helped you on how to handle any steering wheel situation with grace and confidence.